India gets a new seat for democracy. But angry opposition is busy shifting goalposts. August House triggers epic frustration. Whose parliament is it anyway? The big focus on 5 Live. In just 4 days from now, India gets this beautiful brand new parliament. It's taken its time to come, it's cost a lot of money, but that is the price of a growing, burgeoning democracy finding a new place in a rapidly changing world. It's part of the huge, prestigious Central Vista project. But at the epicenter of this grand edifice that's coming up in VVIP Delhi is politics of a very, very familiar kind, viewer. That's also shameful at many levels. I'm going to tell you about the hypocrisies, the shifting goalposts and the gaffes that have been made by the opposition and the big questions for the central government over Naya Parliament for Naya Bharat. I'm Shiv. Thanks for tuning in. This is 5 Live. Let's take you straight to the headlines. Naya Sansad to get ancient scepter called a Sengol, a symbol of freedom in ancient Chora era, presented to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru by a seer in 1947. Gali politics rages on. Congress MP Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary calls Prime Minister Modi pagal. Defense statement and says only echoed public sentiment over 2,000 rupee note withdrawal. Prime Minister Modi, meanwhile, concludes his Australia visit, marking an end to his 3-nation world tour, holds bilateral with Australian Prime Minister Albanese and demands strict action against temple vandalism in that country.
ऑस्ट्रेलिया में मंदिरों पर होने वाले हमलों और अलगाववादी तत्वों की गतिविधियों के संबंध में उन्होंने मुझे एक बार फिर आश्वस्त किया है कि वो ऐसे तत्वों के विरुद्ध सख्त एक्शन लेते रहेंगे.
The Shivaramaya Sarkar mulls overturning Karnataka hijab actions via legal routes to amend the law, calls hijab ban unconstitutional, except it's not in the government's hands, it's in the courts now. Trouble mounts for former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan. Pakistan Defence Minister Khwaja Asif says Pakistan government mulling a ban on Imran's party, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. It's an absolutely brand new parliament. It's right next to the old iconic parliament that everyone is familiar with, you know, the circular building. But this one is a triangular edifice that is coming up right outside the old parliament. It's a structure that every Indian will be proud of because it is inside this new parliament, part of the Central Vista project, that India's democracy will hum and bustle. We've all seen how Parliament functions. We all have our concerns as citizens. But democracy is a machine. It's a dance in this vibrant country of ours. And back in 2012, under an earlier government, it was decided that India does need a new Parliament. The old Parliament simply cannot bear the numbers inside, the structural pressure on each of its rooms, its chambers, and therefore, over 2 governments, it was decided that India wanted, needed, and deserved a new seat for its democracy. These are 3D pictures, viewer, you're seeing here on India Today, of the first look of what the inside of Parliament is going to look like. And in 4 days from now, the Indian Prime Minister will be inaugurating this new parliament. That's how it looks from the outside. This is the familiar Vijay Chowk and Parliament Chowk. The gates are right next door to each other. But there couldn't be more differences between the old and the new. Let's tell you a little bit more about this temple of democracy, because this is a building that has taken thousands of crores to build. It's part of an extremely ambitious project called the Central Vista project, and this is only one element of it, but as you can see, it performs a very important role. It's a 4-story structure that's going to come up there. It's already going to be inaugurated. 64,500 square meters is the total area of the new Parliament building. It has been developed by private sector giant Tata Projects Limited. They're the lead company that has designed and made this entire building. On the 10th of December 2020, Prime Minister Modi laid the foundation stone for India's new parliament. Construction time was about 2 years and 5 months. Think about that, incredible. Much of that construction happened during the COVID pandemic. That was also a source of politics. The construction cost an estimated 1,200 crore rupees. There's parking space in this new parliament for up to 900 vehicles. All of these data points are much higher than the existing parliament. Now remember, the reason why this new parliament building is in the headlines, not only because it's being inaugurated this Sunday by the Prime Minister, but also because of the huge aggressive opposition it is facing by, well, the opposition parties. 19 of them have come together to say they are boycotting the inauguration, saying that it should be the president who inaugurates the new parliament and not the Prime Minister himself. But I just wanted to remind our viewers, there are very hard questions that one must ask the government at all times, including on the parliament itself. But just for the sake of information, here's a look at the many goalposts that have been jumped between by opposition parties since the beginning of this entire episode. Opposition goalpost number 1, no need for a new parliament, even though committee after committee recommended that it was desperately needed. Opposition goalpost 2, which they jumped to, no transparency in the parliament project, is what they then alleged. Opposition goalpost number 3, they jumped to Modi's expensive vanity project. This is about Modi, this is not about democracy, and it's not about India. Then they jumped to opposition goalpost number 4, new construction will have an impact on the environment. Many civil society activists also jumped into the fray. And remember, this is after many committees had looked at all these aspects before recommending it. Opposition goalpost number 5, then they jumped to suspend construction during the COVID pandemic. Remember this? It became a very, very big issue while the construction was stayed in court for a while. Then when construction was allowed to continue by the court, the next goalpost the opposition went to was that the farmers are protesting in the Ghazi border and the Sengol border, and yet parliament construction is continuing. That was the 6th goalpost in just a couple of years. Goalpost number 7, high costs in a time of economic crisis. If you're understanding what I'm saying, there was a jumping between goalposts to try and keep the narrative alive that this new parliament building was absolutely the wrong thing to do. Goalpost number 8, Modi projecting self as sole operator of new parliament. And this was, of course, on the back of a stream of pictures that came out, which only had Prime Minister Modi in most of those visuals. Then the opposition said, don't inaugurate the new parliament before 2024. We can continue to do business in the old parliament. It's a separate issue, of course, that no business was happening in parliament for political reasons. And finally, goalpost number 10, which is what you're looking at now. After saying don't inaugurate till 2024, now they say, well, the Prime Minister shouldn't be inaugurating it. It should be the President, the head of state, who inaugurates it. So, no judgments here. This is just the many goalposts that have been shifted by the opposition on the one issue of this new parliament. Now, the Naya Sansad has also meant the same old politics. First, it was the Trinamool Congress, then it was the Aam Aadmi Party, then it was the DMK, finally it was the Congress Party and a whole bunch of others. In total, 19 parties have come together to say they are fully boycotting the inauguration of India's new parliament on the 28th of this month. Take a look. Bharat's Naya Sansad rises. This is the biggest landmark of New India. Bigger, swankier and future ready. Made for the people of India. But with this new parliament comes old politics and frustration. In the biggest moment for democracy in modern times, many opposition parties are sulking instead of participating in the celebration. The Congress, which has been a vociferous critic of this new parliament, is leading an opposition boycotting the new parliament unveiling by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, seeking that the unveiling be done by President Murmu herself.
The way in which you undermine the President of India, the first woman tribal President of India, where is the justification? You are violating the constitutional principles. We are violating the protocols. You are violating the customs.
The decorum, with the basic decorum which has to be followed, is not being followed. So, many opposition parties have decided to boycott it.
ये इनॉगरेशन राष्ट्रपति करते तो ठीक होता. नरेंद्र मोदी अपना प्रचार करने चाहते हैं कि वही पार्लियामेंट का बिल्डिंग बनाया. ये हमें अच्छा नहीं लगा.
But not all opposition parties are with the Congress. The Akalis, who had famously broken away from the BJP-led NDA, came out backing the new Sansad, calling it India's pride and slamming the opposition's petty politics.
इलेक्शन का साल है, वो अपने अपने इशू पार्टियां बढ़ा रही हैं, लेकिन ये देश का एक बड़ा काम हुआ है. देश को अपनी पार्लियामेंट जो है पहली बार अपनी आप बनाई है, तो उसमें खुशी से सबको शामिल होना चाहिए. इसमें तो कोई इशू बनाने की बात नहीं है.
The BJP in counter has cited instances of Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi, who as Prime Ministers had unveiled the Parliament annex and separate wings. The BJP even asked the Congress to take pride in India's progress and not get blinded by hate for Modi.
अगर आपके हेड ऑफ गवर्नमेंट इनॉग्रेट कर सकते हैं पार्लियामेंट की एनेक्सी को और लाइब्रेरी को, तो हम इस समय के हेड ऑफ गवर्नमेंट क्यों नहीं कर सकते? सिंपल इज दैट. मुझे लगता है कि ये दिस वाज अ वेरी पुअर अटेम्प्ट एट क्रिएटिंग ए डाइवर्जन.
Home Minister Amit Shah has invited all opposition parties to uphold the national spirit together.
प्रधानमंत्री जी 28 मई को संसद का नवनिर्मित भवन राष्ट्र को समर्पित करेंगे. हमने तो भारत सरकार ने सबको विनंती किया है कि आप उपस्थित रहिए. सब अपनी अपनी भावना के अनुसार करेंगे.
India's parliament belongs to its citizens. Should not parties rise above cheap theatrics for the sake of dissent? Bureau Report, India Today. So here's a look at the scale of the boycott by the opposition of the inauguration of Parliament by Prime Minister Modi coming up this Sunday. Just to give you a sense of who all are boycotting, there is the Aam Aadmi Party that's boycotting. The CPI-M has decided to boycott. They were among the first to actually announce that they would be boycotting. You also have the Trinamool Congress that has decided. All of the left parties have decided to boycott. The RJD will not be there at the inauguration. The JDU from Bihar, Nitish's party, will also be boycotting. Congress becoming the latest big party to say that they're not going to be part of the inauguration. The DMK, obviously, in Tamil Nadu, interestingly, going to be boycotting. Samajwadi Party will be boycotting. Shiv Sena, Uddhav Thackeray faction will be boycotting. The Kerala Congress M will also be boycotting. They've announced the Rashtriya Lok Dal will also be boycotting. Sharad Pawar's NCP, the AIML, the RSP, and also the National Conference from Jammu and Kashmir will be boycotting, and the MDMK. All of these parties, 16 in all at last count, will be boycotting the inauguration. Now, let's put the politics aside, viewer, just for a moment, and show you what the old and the new look like side by side, because it's interesting. Let's do a comparison of what things actually look like. The old Lok Sabha could seat 550. The new Lok Sabha, 888. The old Rajya Sabha 250, the new Rajya Sabha 384. 800 seats in the existing parliament, the good old parliament that we all know about. The new parliament, 1,272 can be seated. That's what the comparison is like. 47,500 square meters, 64,500 square meters. That is a huge increase in usable area. The construction cost of this one, I mean, of course, look at it in terms of how old this building is. 83 lakhs at the time, 800 crore. Obviously, if you adjust for inflation, it'll be much, much more. The shape of this one, the one that we all love, circular. The new one is triangular, reflecting the many sides of India. The layout, it's big circular edifice with a large central hall. The new one does not have a central hall. Very interestingly, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha and the central lounge are built around an open courtyard in the center. There are many who say that some of it may be influenced by how the Pentagon is constructed, but that's for another day. This center leads to the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and the library hall. That's the central hall inside Parliament. But the courtyard in the middle of this interlinks them to the Constitution Hall. So all of them are interlinked on the inside. The joint sessions of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are held over here. There is no hall in the new Parliament. Joint sittings will take place in the Lok Sabha area. They can seat everyone over there. That's absolutely not, possible. There is a Constitution Hall in the new Parliament building. The old one does not have a Constitution Hall by itself. Now, in terms of features, there are refreshment rooms, of course. There's a banquet hall as well. The new one has a hall to showcase India's democratic heritage. It's a bit of a museum. And there is a large lounge for our honorable members of Parliament of all parties. There are many private dining rooms in the old Parliament. There's a reading room as well. All of this is going to be refurbished and upgraded as well in order to preserve its use. So remember, this Parliament building is also going to be in use. It's not like it's going to fall out of use. Library and committee rooms and a large dining area in the new place. And remember, we're only talking about some of the structural things in terms of digital infrastructure, connectivity, etc. No comparison whatsoever. The new Parliament is going to be head and shoulders above the good old Parliament that has been used so far. Well, you'll see the new Parliament on the 28th of May when it finally opens. But here's what it really looks like and here's what it can boast of. Remember, this new Parliament can seat 1,272 members of Parliament as part of a joint session in this single chamber. The new Lok Sabha can seat 888 members of Parliament. The new Rajya Sabha in the new Parliament can seat 384. Now, it has this grand Constitution Hall. There's no central hall like the old one, but this grand Constitution Hall. The interiors have 3 national symbols of the country: the lotus, the peacock and the banyan tree, all of them etched. There are 3 main gates in this new Parliament complex as well. Now, the Gyan Dwar, Shakti Dwar and Karan Dwar is what they are called. There is an ancient item called a Sengol. It dates back to the time of the Chora dynasty. And it's very interesting because this item that's currently sitting in the Nehru Memorial Museum in Allahabad is being brought to be part of this new Parliament. What exactly is this beautiful piece of artisanship? What exactly does it represent? Who made it? And why is it now in the headlines? Watch this report, and then I'm going to introduce you to the family that made this beautiful thing. The new Lok Sabha will have a significant piece of history as it's inaugurated on the 28th of May. A Chora dynasty artifact, Sengol, a golden scepter, will be placed by the Prime Minister next to the Lok Sabha Speaker's seat.
जब संसद भवन का देश को समर्पण होगा, उसी दिन आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी बड़ी विनम्रता के साथ तमिलनाडु से आए हुए अधिनियम से सेंगोल को स्वीकार करेंगे और अत्यंत आदरपूर्वक माननीय लोकसभा के अध्यक्ष के आसन के समीप सम्मान के साथ इसको स्थापित करेंगे।
Sengol, derived from the Tamil word semmai, which means righteousness, was used by the Chola kings to signify transfer of power from one ruler to the other. The Chola kings sought the blessings of Lord Shiva through the passing on of the Sengol. From ancient to modern history, the Sengol became a symbol of transfer of power from Lord Mountbatten, the last Viceroy of British India, to the first Prime Minister of independent India, Jawaharlal Nehru. According to historical accounts, Mountbatten had asked the soon-to-be Prime Minister what would mark the transfer of power when India attains independence. Nehru then turned to see Rajagopalachari, the country's last Governor-General, for advice. Rajagopalachari, fondly called Rajaji, told Nehru about the Tamil tradition of the high priest handing over a scepter to a new king when he comes to power. Rajaji contacted Thiruvadurai Adinam, a prominent mutt in present-day Tamil Nadu. The then seer of the mutt accepted the responsibility. The Sengol was made by Vumidi Bangaru Chetty, a jeweler in then Madras. It is 5 feet in length and has a Nandi bull on top, symbolizing strength, truth and justice.
Top where you see is the Nandi. Since it was a Shaivite Adinam, so they had placed the Nandi right on top. Below that we have a Lakshmi. The Nandi also justifies for justice. So that's what it signifies. And the Lakshmi is for wealth. So the ruler should have the right amount of finances, should also deliver a right justice to its people.
ये एक महत्वपूर्ण स्थान पर जा रहा था, इसलिए उच्च गुणवत्ता आवश्यक थी। हमें इसके निर्माण का आदेश मिला। यह चांदी से बना था, जिस पर सोने की परत थी। आधीनम के सानिध्य में इस निर्माण से जुड़कर मैं बहुत ही प्रसन्न था।
A senior priest of the mutt first handed over that scepter to Lord Mountbatten, and on the 14th of August, it was unveiled. It was then sprinkled with Ganga Jal, taken in a procession to Prime Minister Nehru, and handed over 15 minutes before midnight when India attained independence.
ये नया संसद भवन प्रधानमंत्री जी की दूरदर्शिता का प्रमाण है, जो नए भारत के निर्माण में हमारी सांस्कृतिक विरासत, परंपरा और सभ्यता को आधुनिकता से जोड़ने का एक सुंदर प्रयास है।
The Sengol is currently in a museum in Allahabad, from where it will be brought to its new address, India's new parliament. Bureau Report, India Today. So this is truly an incredible moment. The scepter, a symbol of royalty, a symbol of the transfer of power. It was C. Rajagopalachari, India's first Indian Governor-General, his idea to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru that this is a wonderful symbol of the transfer of power from the British to the fledgling Indian government. Now that scepter, it's a golden scepter with Nandi on it, which was made in Tamil Nadu. It dates back to the Chola dynasty. The design, the entire concept. Now that is going to be brought back. It's going to be revived. It's going to be given its pride of place from Allahabad, where it has been. Now it's going to sit right next to the Lok Sabha Speaker in the new Parliament. Joining me live now, very, very honored to have with us two gentlemen who are directly connected with what's happening right now. C.R. Kesavan is formerly of the Congress party. He joined the BJP a few months ago, but his real calling is that he is the great-grandson of C. Rajagopalachari, the revered freedom fighter, India's first Indian Governor-General, whose idea it was to make the Sengol a symbol of that symbolic transfer of power from the British to the Indian government. We also are very honored to have Uday Vumidi, his grandson of the Honorable Vumidi Bangaru Chetty, joins us from Chennai, my city as a matter of fact. Also a very proud day for him and his family. The entire lineage has been connected in one way or the other to India's freedom. We'll be joined in a moment by Mr. A. Surya Prakash as well. We'll go to him right after we speak to both the gentlemen. Mr. Kesavan, good to see you. Thanks very much for your time here. I'll be taking you one-on-one because this is not a debate. We're just getting your views on what is a very, very proud day for you, the family. Your first thoughts when you heard about this. The Home Minister announced this earlier today that the Sengol, many people hadn't even heard the word today, Kesavan, let's be honest. And today everyone knows what the Sengol is. Your great-grandfather's idea it was to make that ancient Chora item, a symbol of the transfer of power.
First, Shiv, good to be here on the show with you. As an Indian, I want to thank our Honorable Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji, for ensuring that this slice and most important, momentous piece of history has again been brought back from oblivion and given its due place. If you remember in 1927, when the current old Parliament building was inaugurated, it was done by Lord Irwin, the Governor General. That ceremony was bereft of any culture or tradition related to India. But now, when you see on May 28th, when our Honorable Prime Minister is going to be inaugurating the new building, I can proudly say that we can celebrate and cherish it with a timeless tradition and our civilizational heritage from time immemorial. As you have narrated. The most important thing here, Shiv, is this, like what's been happening with the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. There have been so many incidents, so many heroes and heroines unsung, so many untold milestones, which we never got to know about.
Absolutely.
When Kashi Sangamam happened, you knew the innate connect between the South and the North. Then when, your Madhavpuri Mela happened, you knew there was a connect between Gujarat and the Mishi tribes. In Arunachal Pradesh, where Rukmini, the deity of the wife of Lord Krishna is, there was the East and West connect. Similarly, this tale of the Sengol reiterates the civilizational commonality and the civilizational connect we have. If you see, like you said, when in 1947, as independence approached, when Lord Mountbatten asked the incoming Prime Minister Pandit Nehru, how should we do this? Should we just shake hands? He sought the counsel of Rajaji. And Rajaji was a spiritual man rooted in his tradition, and he recalled, this tradition of the scepter or the Sengol is an Indic civilizational, tradition where the high priest basically hands over the scepter as a sign of transfer of power to the king, saying that the scepter represents justice. So when Rajaji said that to Pandit Nehru, he instantly, concurred with the idea. And he gave the responsibility to Rajaji, who called on the then pontiff of Thiruvadurai, which is in Mailadurai now, Thiruvadurai Mutt. It's a Shaivite Mutt. And Sri Ambalavana Desika Swamigal was not in great health, actually. But this was a calling, and he took on the responsibility, contacted, a lapidary, pretty famous in Chennai, and, ensured that this was done. It was a silver scepter with gold coating with the Nandi, as you mentioned, on top.
Absolutely.
And what happened, Shiv, is on the day, like you mentioned, there was a special plane which was chartered, and the seer couldn't come. He was not well. So he sent Kumaraswamy Tambiran on his behalf and Manikam Oduvar, the priest, and Rajaratnam Pillai, the famous person who plays the, Nadasuram.
Yes,
When they came there, you should think about it. This is where I, really connect with what the Prime Minister says about modernity and tradition. You talked about the, modernity.
I agree,
which was written by Tirunana Sambandar in 650 AD, which is like 1,400 years before, was sung. And when Devaram was sung, and there was a line in Devaram, you know Tamil, Shiv, so it says, Adiyargal Vanil Arasalvar Anai Namade. We command that this humbleness shall rule the heavens. When that line was said, the scepter, which symbolizes righteousness, was sanctified with holy water, and it was given to Pandit Nehru. What I really like to reiterate here is, Shiv, everybody knows about the Tryst of Destiny speech. All of us know about the stroke of the midnight hour. But none of us know about this momentous occasion of the scepter, not just being a Tamilian knowing the Sengol, but this nobody knows. And like you said, it was an oblivion in some, museum in Allahabad. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Prime Minister because this establishes the civilizational connectivity and commonality we have. We are all one. We have always been connected. And the place this is going to be placed. It's going to be placed behind the chair of the speaker. And what is the civilizational core of India, Shiv? It is the rule of Dharma.
No,
And
you know
when
what
the
you're
scepter
saying,
is there-
Kesavan, about all of us being one. You know, this is something that's going to resonate with every Indian today as we talk about this. I also want to bring in Uday Vumidi, whose family has been directly connected with the with the craftsmanship behind this absolutely beautiful item. Many of us, many of our viewers may be new to the word Sengol, Udayji, but obviously you and your family have been familiar with it for generations together. Your sentiments today, I know it can be overwhelming. This is an item that was made with a great deal of skill and love by your family. It's in, it has been in a museum for many, many decades now in Allahabad, but now it is going to be before the entire nation once again.
Namaskaram from Chennai. This is a beautiful moment and it is a lot of pride. My father, Sri Umadi Itiraj, who is 4 short of a century now, being IPS citizen, was one of the persons who were directly involved in the manufacturing with his father's presence. Yes, it is a family jewel, not just made, it has come there. And what we have done is a part of culture where we showed made in south of India and goes to the north of India and just proves it's not north, east, south or west, but one India. It's a beautiful significance. My father cherished this conversation when the interview happened here, and he recollected how the artisans were so happy to do it, and then they realized this is going to be the part of significance of to the world's largest democracy and coming into existence. There was a lot of pride when they did it, and he still says that evening or during the evening, there was a lot of crowd who used to come there just to see what was happening. And where was it? This is a small place in Paris Corner, as we call it now. The house, the workshop, and the shop, it's all together. It was a joint, not just a joint family, but a joint enterprise. So they did it there. And yes, in between, we did not know what happened to it. And so happy that this came into prominence again.
Udayji, sorry to interrupt you, but it's beautiful, the details that you're describing. I was just curious to know, because we've got pictures on our screen right now of the Sengol as it currently sits in that Allahabad Nehru Memorial Museum. It says golden walking stick gifted to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. It's not a walking stick, is it? I think that must be a mistake.
Yes, somewhere down the line, I think that happened. I do not know how that happened. But then we look at the brighter part. The Sengol is restored. Sengol is restored to coming to the right place.
Yeah.
And there is one more gentleman as wonderful as Mr. Rajaji. That is Mr. Gurumurthy, who was instrumental in identifying where we were, who did that, and somehow all that happened in a short span. So I would like to mention him, and our PM, what a wonderful person who realized this importance of culture and heritage, and also showing to the nation and the world that even in 1947, under so much stress and so much of things, this whole thing was done. They came all the way to Chennai. The Adinam came here because they know it will be made under the direct supervision of the family, which is a very simple family, with God's grace. Yes, very simple family. Our elders have done it. And like I said, Dad is the link today, a standing link between who made it and there he is. And I would not really be
of your family today. Yes. No, it's always the small things that matter. And I think, one little scepter, it's about 5 feet, if I'm not mistaken, and it's going to have that incredible pride of place. One final word from C. Rajagopalachari's great-grandson, C.R. Kesavan, who's still with us. Kesavan, it's the small things, it is the small things. This also shows that there, care has been taken to acknowledge the things that may have been forgotten in our history. Because, like I said, and the reason I'm stressing this point is because it's important. Most people had never even heard of the Sengol today, leave alone know what the significance of it was. And now it's going to be right there in front of everyone's eyes.
Shiv, I have to say that I was very surprised when you showed me that picture from the museum saying it was a walking stick. So, but I'll tell you one thing. This is a credit which should be given to the government and our Honorable Prime Minister, because, you know, this is the younger generation is going to learn about how, you know, what a civilizational connect we have. And more importantly, I think what we should understand is, you know, there is a Tirukkural, you'll understand Tamil. There's a Tirukkural in, you know, 546, I think it says, Velundri Vendri Taruvudu Mannavan Kolo Thoongoda Theni. That means that the kings don't achieve victory by the lance or the sword, but by the way in which they handle the scepter, which we're talking about with equity. And this, the embodiment of this is Narendra Modi ji. Because the way in which this can only be done because if a person has a deep understanding of a culture, heritage, tradition, parampara, a man like Narendra Modi ji, who has understood, you know, the fiber of India and the core of India, he has realized the importance of this and he's ensured that it has come to light. And more important, I'm very grateful that it is being placed behind the speaker, because this will always eternally remind our country and the people who are elected that this country will always be ruled by the scepter, which signifies the rule of Dharma. And we are thankful to the Prime Minister for this.
I think it's going to be something that everyone is going to look out for. We know we have millions of viewers who are, who are better informed today about the Sengol, and they are going to be looking out for it when that beautiful inauguration ceremony happens on Sunday. I congratulate the both of you, to belong to illustrious families that are directly connected to this wonderful piece of history. You know, a material piece of our history that's now finally going to have its pride of place.
Thank you for thoughtfully calling everybody connected to this.
Thank you. Thank you, C.R. Keswar and Uday Vumidi, joining me from Chennai on this wonderful, wonderful day as we put the spotlight on it. I also want to get now some wisdom on this inauguration that's going to happen in a few days now from someone very important. A. Surya Prakash, who I'd like to introduce you to, who's given us his time on the show, is someone who is a vice chairman of the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library. He's been associated with the Prasar Bharati in the past. Very importantly, he's also a member of the high-powered committee to suggest art installations in the new Parliament House. So he's actually one of the persons who's been on those committees making recommendations, and some of those recommendations, if not all, are going to be visible when the new Parliament is inaugurated. Mr. Surya Prakash, welcome. Thank you for your time, sir. First of all, congratulations. Work that you've done, teams that you've been part of, all of it is going to be visible to the nation in a few days from now.
Yeah, a lot of people, the Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts and a whole lot of people have put in great effort over the last few years, and it's really astounding, Shiv, that in a matter of 2.5 years, they have built this extraordinary, fantastic new Parliament House. And, for the information of your viewers, I must tell them that when Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji was the Prime Minister, the Constitution was amended to freeze the strength of the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and Assemblies till 2026. So, when people say, why do you need a new Parliament House? Well, it was in the 1970s that the strength of the Lok Sabha was frozen at 543 elected seats, and that of Rajya Sabha to 245. Now, with the growth of population, I think at that time, our population was something around 600 million or a little less. Right. It is now 1,400 million, and I'm sure come 2026, there will be a clamor for revising the strength of the two houses. Yeah. Then where would we go with our old Parliament House? So this was absolutely necessary, and I must tell you that this Parliament House is a very important connect, a bridge between our civilizational experience and modern India. That is the significance of this, and this is not built by Lutyens or Herbert Baker. This is built by our own architects and engineers, and really hats off to them. I think they have done a great job.
Tell us a little bit, Mr. Surya Prakash, of what else one can expect to see. You were part of the committee recommending some of the art installations. We're going to see this wonderful Sengol inside. Give us a sneak peek at what else we can expect.
Yes, I've had occasion to visit the site when construction was on, and as I told you, the Secretary Culture, IGNCA, and a lot of great art historians have put their heads together to come up with something very, very good for the interiors of this building. And I must tell you that you're going to have a section there which will talk of India being the mother of democracy. In fact, Modi ji just spoke about that even the other day in Sydney. He is the first prime minister who has been emphasizing that. It is very unfortunate that though we had democratic traditions from the Vedic ages, when the Buddhist Sanghas, they had parliamentary rules, Shiv, pertaining to question hour, call attention motion, voting through slips, ballots. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. This, I'm talking of 2,500 years ago, the democratic traditions that were in this country, and nobody spoke about it. What happened was, we all in our school and college grew up, with the Macaulay narrative that the British taught us parliamentary traditions. I'll tell you that is absolutely bunkum. Our parliamentary traditions go back several thousands of years. And Prime Minister Modi has been emphasizing that, and I think the new Parliament House and this Sengol, for example, this is a Chola tradition where you hand over power from one king to the other. There is a mutt in Tamil Nadu. Actually, the previous speakers, Mr. Keshavan and your other guests, they have explained a lot about this Sengol, so I don't have to go into that. But the point is, this gives us our civilizational connect, which was missing in the first 75 years after independence. It is so sad. In fact, Jawaharlal Nehru received that Sengol from the priests after Rajaji's advice. They were flown into Delhi, and Nehru received the Sengol just a little while before his famous Tryst for Destiny speech. In fact, Nehru spoke of our tryst with destiny the midnight of August 14, 15. I will say that come May 28th, we are going to have our tryst with our civilizational destiny and experience when the new Parliament House opens.
Mr. Surya Prakash, thank you very much for your time, sir. Good to get that insight. Civilizational connect is something not everyone is talking about. That's going to be one of the headline aspects of this new parliament. Thank you very much for your time, sir, for joining me here. Remember, Sunday is when that inauguration happens. But many of our viewers will be wondering, with this new parliament being inaugurated by the Prime Minister on Sunday, what happens to the good old parliament that all of us grew up watching on television or perhaps been lucky enough to see in real life? This is the one. It's circular, one of the most iconic edifices in the country. What happens to this new parliament? Well, we answer that question, but we first need to give you a little bit of history about that new parliament. I bet many of us didn't even know how old the original parliament building actually was and what it was originally called. Watch this report. The seat of Indian power, the country's biggest lawmaking assembly, constituting the President, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Its model, originally designed by British architects Edward Lutyens and Herbert Baker during the colonial era. The stone laying took place on the 12th of February 1921. Its construction took 6 years to complete by the 18th of January 1927. The then Indian Viceroy, Lord Irwin, inaugurated the Parliament building, then called the Council House.
Of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
It was in its central hall where the transfer of British governance to Indians took place on the 15th of August 1947. The Lok Sabha, the House of the People, consisting of directly elected members of Parliament. It came into existence on the 17th of April 1952, the first meeting conducted on the 13th of May that year. G.V. Mavlankar was the first speaker. The Lok Sabha covers 446 square meters with a seating capacity of 550. A green carpet spread over its floor. Members of the ruling party sit on the right, the opposition on the left. The upper house, called the Rajya Sabha, the Council of States. It came into existence on the 3rd of April 1952. Its floor covered with a red carpet. The Rajya Sabha is the continuous assembly of parliament. It cannot be dismissed. 6 years is the duration of each Rajya Sabha assembly. A 96-year-old structure that saw India's transition into independence. A majestic testament to the forging of the country's democratic governance. Bureau Report, India Today. We've got a major update on the big opposition boycott of the new parliament inauguration on Sunday. I'm bringing that to you right after this very short break. Stay with our special coverage here on 5 Live.
The heart of India's tech industry hosts a tectonic event. The latest updates in technology and innovation. The biggest names in Indian tech under one roof. From AI to 5G. From EVs to data security. Discover how technology is transforming our lives. Catch all the action at the BT Tech Today Congress in Bengaluru on June 2nd. Live across the Business Today multiverse.
Most important would be to go and consult a dermatologist, because it is not something you can treat on your own. However, what is the basic step and why does it happen? So heat rash happens because of the trapping of the sweat gland or sweat duct, and there is sweat under the skin. So you see it can be of varied types. It can be red color, or it can be crystal-like, or it can be pustular. So these are the various types of heat rash which can be seen depending upon the level of the sweat duct which is involved. So most important steps which we can do during summers is to wear loose clothing. Don't wear very tight clothing, because that can cause friction, as well as it can lead to mechanical damage because of rubbing, and so the skin barrier could be disrupted. So make sure that your barrier is intact, and you can use moisturizer which will act like a lubricating agent, so it will protect your skin.
You have to use something to negate the effects of your direct exposure to sun, like hat you can use goggles, so that eye irritation will not happen. You can cover your arms and your body parts with a soft cotton clothes, so that you will not get sunburns.
One of the symptoms of dehydration is lightheadedness and mild headache. Of course, be very clear in your head that this is not the basic sign of dehydration. So there are a lot of headaches which happen in summers, especially those who are prone to migraine. Summers and extreme heat precipitates the headache, and therefore dehydration of course can give you lightheadedness and some headache, but other causes of headache must also be considered.
After hitting the streets to demand justice, India's champion wrestlers took out a candle march in the capital. Their fight against Wrestling Federation of India chief Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, who is facing charges of sexual harassment, is turning out to be a grueling one.
सभी बड़े बुजुर्गों ने एक फैसला लिया है कि 28 तारीख को संसद भवन के सामने नई संसद भवन के सामने महिलाओं का महापंचायत होगा, और महिलाएं इसको लीड करेंगी, और जितने भी हमारी बड़ी माताएं हैं, बहनें हैं, जो हमारे साथ में समर्थन में आएंगी, और हम चाहते हैं कि वो बढ़ चढ़ के हिस्सा लें, क्योंकि अगर ये आवाज़ उठी है तो ये आवाज़ दूर तक जानी चाहिए.
The man facing the charges, a BJP MP from Kesarganj, is defiant from day one, spewing one insult after another. Brij Bhushan's remarks triggered sharp reactions from the wrestlers.
ब्रज भूषण तो अपने घर पे चेयर पे बैठ के कुछ भी अनाप शनाप बातें बोल रहा है और कुछ भी बोल रहा है, मतलब उससे तो इसको पता लग जाना चाहिए किस किस्म का और किस माइंडसेट का आदमी है ये। तो स्ट्रगल तो हम ही कर रहे हैं, वो तो अपना फ्री बैठा है, ऐसे जैसे उसका कोई कुछ कर ही नहीं सकता है, ऐसे जैसे वो देश का प्रधानमंत्री वही है और उसका कोई कुछ भी बाल बाका नहीं कर सकता है। तो उस एटीट्यूड से वो बैठा है, तो बैठे हैं हम भी, तब तक वो गिरफ्तार नहीं हो जाता है, जब तक न्याय नहीं मिल जाता हम बैठे हैं।
They have now reiterated their demand for a polygraph and narco test on the WFI chief.
हम तो 15 दिन से बोल रहे हैं कि नार्को टेस्ट करा लो, उन्होंने कल ही अचानक से क्यों बोला कि पहले हमारा होना चाहिए। बिल्कुल होना चाहिए, हमारा होना चाहिए, जो 7 लड़कियां हैं, बजरंग है, सबका होना चाहिए, लेकिन पहले उनका होना चाहिए, फिर हमारा होना चाहिए। जो भी दोषी होगा उसको सजा मिल जानी चाहिए।
It was on April 23rd, the wrestlers reignited their protest in the heart of the national capital. This time, 7 athletes went to the police to file complaint of sexual harassment against Brij Bhushan. One of the alleged victims was a minor. But even to get an FIR filed, the athletes who have made India proud on the biggest global stage had to move the Supreme Court. What upset the wrestlers more than anything was the reaction of the Indian Olympic Association chief, PT Usha, an Olympian herself.
वो लोग को पहले थोड़ा तो डिसिप्लिन तो होना चाहिए, है ना? तो they should come to us earlier if they have a real problem. Instead of coming to us, they are gone straight away to street. No, it is not good for the sports.
The wrestlers found the silence of other sports icons troubling. The administration has attempted every trick in the book to break the wrestlers' will. The electricity supply to the venue was cut in peak summer. A scuffle with the police one night saw them reduced to tears. But the wrestlers are in no mood to give up yet. Bureau Report, India Today.
And venomous politics season never seems to end, and it isn't going to on the road to 2024. Gali politics has reignited against Prime Minister Modi even as he makes his way back to India from that three-nation tour. Congress MP Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary has stoked the newest row by calling the Prime Minister Pagal over the withdrawal of the 2,000 rupee notes. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary said people have been frustrated with the centre ever since demonetization in 2016. Well, following the uproar, Congress MP Adhir issued a clarification saying that he's only echoing public sentiments. The BJP has hit back at the Congress, saying Prime Minister Modi is pagal over India and Indians, and the Congress has made it a habit to insult the Prime Minister.
যে আর মোদি নয়, মোদির পরিবর্তন চাই, কথা নাই বার্তা নাই, 2000 টাকা হঠাৎ করে আবার বাতিল করে দেওয়ার ঘোষণা করে দিল। এ তো মোদি নয়, পাগলা মোদি। লোকে বলছে পাগলা মোদি। ভারতবর্ষের অর্থনীতি ভেঙে চুরমার, তার মধ্যে আবার ঘোষণা করে দেওয়া হলো যে 2000 টাকা বাজারে চলবে না নাকি।
And here's Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary clarifying. It's not the first time that he's clarified on his remarks. Here's the latest.
ये जो नोटबंदी के चलते मैं जो टिप्पणी दिए थे, वो आम लोगों की जो भावनाएं थे, ये भावना की झलक। लोग कहते हैं कि मोदी जी पागलपन कर रहे हैं। खुद आम लोग कहते हैं, किसी से पूछिए आप लोग। और आम लोगों की भावनाओं को भी हमें जिक्र करना जरूरी है, क्योंकि मुझे भी लगा कि इस तरीके की तुगलकी फैसले से और इसके चलते जो नतीजा भुगत रहे हैं हम लोग, उसमें नाखुश होकर आम लोग ये बयान और ये कह रहे हैं।
And from politics in the national capital, we're taking you straight back to Karnataka. The elections are over. The new government is in office. But are hijab politics about to re-erupt in the state of Karnataka? And is the Sidhu Sarkara about to take some action regarding the hijab ban? That's the big story on 6 p.m. Prime with Nabila coming up next.
Summers are devastating for stray animals. The scorching heat wave means animals living on the street struggle for water. Karma Foundation is on a mission to make life easy for stray animals.
This water bowl challenge is also one of such initiatives where we know during the scorching heats of summer has to provide the basic requirement for the health of the pet, which is water, and hence we are actually donating the water bowls.
These water bowls are a big relief for stray animals living under the open sky in sweltering weather. Karma Foundation has requested people to join their movement by placing a bowl of water outside their home or workplace. Bureau Report, India Today.